Hey YouTube, what's up? This is the Reluctant IB back again. News and views, views on the news. Another message to preach and teach. And I want y'all to pay close attention to this because we have been so inundated with the lies of religion, and we are taught to not read other sources outside of what the the purveyor of these lies wants you to read. To keep you blinded. All right. And so this one, we're going to deal with a particular biblical lie reinforced by the black church and mothers, to separate us from the truth. Not only to separate us from the truth, but a lot of what's going on separates fathers from sons and men from other men. Free thinking men from other free thinking men. All right. So first, let me greet everybody. Harvard and Hardu, Gudag, Ola, Oi to the Bang, Vasis Los, Bonjour, mes amis, Kedu, Bawani, Konnichiwa, Ni hao, ni hao ma, Sani Bonani, Jumbo Habaragani, Assalamu alaikum and Shalom. All right. So, one, beef. The purveyor of beef, the argument, the inability for a house to be at peace, has consistently been the byproduct of the BAW. All right. The BAW have stripped relationships between fathers and sons for a while. All right. They have stripped them of knowledge of self, all in the guise of trying to please the master who they really love, Azazel, demons, the devil, the Caucasian. Anybody that means evil and destruction to the good Afro-Indigenous man, these women side with. And all we got to do is look at the news, look at what's been going on in the court, look at how they treat people at home. Chris Rock had a skit about how not to get beat up by police. And although it was funny, he was like, don't drive with drugs in your pocket. Obey when you see a red light, just stop, this, that, and the other. The last thing he said is, if your woman, a black woman, of course, in Europe, these are black men, right? If a woman is angry at you as a black man, wherever you go, don't take her with you, because she would love nothing more than to see you get beat up by the police. All right. I wish I could put that last part in here. And this is what we have, the enemy among us. All right. We have the enemy among us. They have stripped the man of everything using the laws of the oppressors intentionally. And then they don't want to be judged for it. They have stripped the ability of many brothers to have knowledge of anything. Because, they're the ones that raised them from a child by themselves. They're not put in check by anything to do the right thing, so they don't. So many men grow up not learning to think like men because they think like the woman that raised them without a man. All right, so let's get into this. All right, but first, let me remind you, that let's get these thumbs up over 100 within the first couple of hours. Like, share, subscribe, donate to my channel if you can. Um, it'd be most appreciated. And when you subscribe, click the bell. So when you subscribe, click the bell and then the gears to get the content. All right. And to be made aware when I have live shows up. So when you subscribe, click that bell and then click the gear saying you want to know when I have other content coming up. All right. Now, let's start off with the biggest lie.
Hello YouTube. This video is for Hebrew Israelites. This video is going to cause some consternation and some anger. My purpose is to shine the light of truth on the topic that is dividing the Hebrew Israelite community. I am taking verses from both the Old and New Testaments and pointing out the obvious. I want to start with a verse from the 14th chapter of Isaiah, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? I also want to read from 13 and 14. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, and I will exalt my throne above the stars of Yahweh. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will also ascend above the heights of the clouds. And these are the key words. I will be like the Most High. We are now going to read from Revelation 20:16. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. I want you to pay attention to two things. He is the offspring of a man, and he shares the same name as O Lucifer. So, what are his goals? In Philippians chapter 2, verse 5, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. 2:6, who being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with Yahweh. And does the Most High say? What does the Most High say? Isaiah 42:8. I am the Lord, I am Yahweh. That is my name, and my glory will not give to another, neither my praise to graven images. 42:9. Behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare before they spring forth. I tell you of them. Isaiah 45:22. Look unto me, and be ye saved, all the ends of the earth, for I am Yahweh, and there is none else. 45:23. I've sworn by myself, the word is gone out of my mouth, in righteousness, and shall not return, that upon me every knee shall bow, every tongue shall swear. So as you see, he is not giving his power or asking that we subjugate ourselves to any other but himself. It couldn't be any clearer. So I ask you, with the information that you have, who is Yehoshua really telling you he is?
Gave you the real breakdown on um, Jesus and Satan, right? Now, in the beginning with my title, and I titled it Beef, because this is what I want you to understand. I'm gonna deal with fathers and sons and how the women break things up. The beef was never between Abraham and his sons, and the sons didn't have beef. That beef was all 100% the mothers. And it was basically Sarah against Haggai, right? So I'm going to illustrate something. This is the first live is that I put up is the tithe thing. This next slide is that Jesus thing. All right. But here's the other one. The relationship as it was with fathers and sons that they have. And we're going to be dealing with Ishmael and Isaac, right? And I'm going to read, this is Jasher, starting around the 24th chapter. And um, we got the 20 verse here, right? But I want you to understand the book of Jasher. If you start at the 24th chapter, start at the 23rd chapter, and read the whole thing through. You're going to start to see a pattern, right? And 20, it says, and God gave Ishmael flocks and herds and tents on account of Abraham his father. And the man increased in cattle, and Ishmael dwelt in the deserts in tents, traveling and resting for a long time, um, as he did not see the face of his father. And sometime after, Abraham said to Sarah, his wife, I will go and see my son Ishmael, for I have desired to see him, for I have not seen him for a long time. And Abraham rode upon one of his camels to the wilderness to seek his son Ishmael, for he had heard he was dwelling in a tent. So Ishmael grew up and moved further and further away from Abraham, and they didn't see each other for a while. And so he was dwelling in a tent in the wilderness where all belonged to him. And Abraham went to the wilderness, and he reached the tent of Ishmael about noon, and asked after Ishmael. And he found the wife of Ishmael sitting in a tent with her children. And Ishmael, her husband, and his mother was not with them. Okay, now pay attention. This is going to be good, y'all. And Abraham asked the wife of Ishmael, saying, where has Ishmael gone? And she said, he has gone to the field to hunt. And Abraham was still mounted on the camel, for he would not get off to the ground, as he had sworn to his wife Sarah that he would not get off from the camel. Again, now Sarah still have beef with Haggai, so she's going to take it out on Abraham's son, right? And so you see this crap, right? And Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, my daughter, give me a little water that I may drink, for I am fatigued from the journey. All right, so start to understand something. This is more the relationship to Ishmael that Abraham had. When you really read these scriptures, not separation. All right. The one that was trying to keep them separate was Sarah. Oh, and her behind died as a result of evil. All right. But we'll get into that in a little bit. And Ishmael's wife answered and said to Abraham, we have neither water nor bread. She continued sitting in the tent and did not notice Abraham. Oh, the same kind of disrespect that black women do to good men today. Neither did she ask him who she was. You see what I'm saying? So, not hospitable, not nothing. All right. She knew the man knew her husband. All right. But she didn't even bother to ask who the dude is. This is kind of the character of a lot of black women today. But she was beating her child in the tent and was cursing them. She was what? Beating her child in the tent and was cursing them. She also cursed her husband Ishmael and reproached him, talked bad about him in front of the children. Your daddy ain't crap. He ain't this. He ain't that. All right. And Abraham heard the words of Ishmael's wife to her children. He was very angry and displeased. All right, y'all, check this out. Abraham called to the woman, come out to him to the tent, from the tent, and the woman came and stood opposite to Abraham, for Abraham was still mounted on the camel. And Abraham said to Ishmael's wife, when thy husband Ishmael returneth home, say these words to him. A very old man from the land of Philistine came hither to seek thee. And thus was his appearance and figure. This is what he looked like. I did not ask him who he was, and seeing thou was not here, he spoke to me and said, when Ishmael thy husband returneth, tell him thus, did this man say, when thou comest home, put away this nail of the tent which thou hast placed here, and place another nail in its stead. Abraham finished his instructions to the woman. He turned and went off on a camel homeward. I want that to just sink in for a minute. Let that sink in, right? What did he tell this woman? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. All right. This woman was chosen by Hagar when they went to Egypt. All right. This is the main reason that women should not make decisions for men. All right. So basically, 17, he and his mother afterward went to the land of Egypt and they dwelt there, and Hagar took a wife. This is in 17, right? For her son from Egypt, and her name was Meribah. And so that's the woman we just got finished talking about, right? Now, remember, Sarah didn't want him to get off that camel because she did not want her husband to be next to his other wife. Hagar was still his wife. You see what I'm saying? Hagar was still his wife. This is why she did not have a husband. This is why she went hunting with her son. Because Abraham was still her husband. And Sarah knew this, which is why she did not want him to get down from the camel. So are y'all starting to understand this now? Go to Genesis and read. Hagar was his wife, and he took her as a wife. Read Genesis. All right, so the beef was only concerning the women, Sarah and Hagar. Hagar, and I don't know why I put a, well, correct that. You understand? Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, so let's get to 33. After that, Ishmael came from the chase with his mother Hagar and returned to the tent, and his wife spoke these words to him. A very old man from the land of Philistine came to seek thee, and thus was his appearance and figure. I did not ask him who he was. And seeing thou was not at home, he said to me, when thy husband cometh home, tell him thus, Tell him, thus saith the old man, put away the nail of the tent which thou hast placed here, and place it with another nail in its stead. And Ishmael heard the words of his wife. He knew that it was his father, and his wife did not honor him. And Ishmael understood his father's words. Ishmael understood his father's words. Ishmael understood his father's word. That was code. Why would Ishmael understand code? Because was a close relationship between Ishmael and Abraham. All right. So Ishmael understood his father's words that he had spoken to his wife, and Ishmael hearkened to the voice of his father, and Ishmael cast off that woman, and she went away. He sent her behind back. Well, her black behind, because she went back to Egypt. She came from Egypt, and the Egyptians, like the Israelites, were all black. Okay. And Ishmael afterwards went to the land of Canaan and took another wife and brought her to his tent in the place where he didn't dwell, right? So now he went to Canaan and got a another wife. Now, don't know the race of that wife because there was a lot of Canaanites, right? She may not have been black. All right. And so let's get to 38. Abraham decides to return, right? So 39, let's start back with 39. And he rode on his camel and went into the wilderness and reached the tent of Ishmael about noon. And excuse me for skipping 38, but it just says that Abraham decided to go back and check back up on Ishmael and see how he was doing with his wife thing, right? I didn't put that in there because I wanted to make room so that I can have a bigger font, so that it would be easier for me to read, right? I got kind of eye problems. So y'all bear with me, right? All right. So 40. And he asked after Ishmael, and his wife came out of the tent and said, he is not here, my lord, for he has gone to hunt in the field and to feed the camels. And the woman said to Abraham, turn in, my lord, into the tent and eat a morsel of bread, for thy soul must be weary on account of the journey. And Abraham said to her, oh, let me stop again. This still remains a custom when dealing with African people. When I go over to visit some of my friends from the continent of Africa, and I say the continent, many of them come from different countries, but they still do this. They still offer you water or something to snack on in the house. I do it myself when people come over, right? All right, and Abraham said to her, I will not stop, for I am in haste to continue my journey. But give me a little water to drink, for I have thirst. And the woman hastened and ran to the tent and brought out water and bread to Abraham, which she placed before him. She urged him to eat. And he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted, and he blessed his son Ishmael, and finished his meal, and blessed Yahweh. And he said to Ishmael's wife, when Ishmael come home, say these words to him. All right. So again, I point out, this is the relationship between Abraham and Ishmael, as it was between Abraham and Isaac. All right. And these words he spoke to me, when Ishmael, thy husband, come home, say to him, the nail in the tent which thou hast is very good. All right, so this is the word he told her. And so she goes back and she's talking to Ishmael now. Again, for time's sake, you know, I cut to 44. And he spoke to me saying these words. When Ishmael thy husband come home, say to him, the nail of the tent which thou hast is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Abraham finished commanding the woman, and he rode off to his home in the land of Philistine. And when Ishmael came to his tent, his wife went forth to meet him with joy and cheerful heart. And she said to him, an old man came here from the land of Philistine, and thus was his appearance. And he asked after thee, and thou was not here. I brought bread and water, and he ate and drank, and his heart was comforted. And he spoke these words to me. When Ishmael thy son, thy husband, come home, say to him, the nail in the tent which thou hast is very good. Do not put it away from the tent. And Ishmael knew that it was his father and that his wife had honored him. And the Lord blessed Ishmael. All right, what am I trying to point out? That there was a deep relationship between Abraham and both of his sons. Not just Isaac, but Isaac and Ishmael too. As Isaac was blessed, so was Ishmael. Hold on, there's more. All right, this was a true father-son relationship. All right. Um. So Ishmael rose up, took his wife and children and cattle, and all belonged to him. He journeyed from there and went to his father's land of the Philistines. And Abraham related to Ishmael, his son, the transaction with the first wife that Ishmael took according to what she did. And Ishmael and his children dwelt with Abraham many days in that land. And Abraham dwelt in the land of the Philistines a long time. Philistines a long time. And it was at that time that Abraham died in the 15th year of the life of Jacob and Esau, the sons of Isaac. And these days of Abraham were 175 years, and he died and was gathered to his people in good old age and satisfied with the days. And Isaac and Ishmael, his sons, buried him. That's how close they were, right? When the inhabitants of Canaan heard that Abraham was dead, they all came with their kings and princes and their men to bury Abraham. The reason why they did this is because Abraham taught hospitality to his sons. And the reason why his sons were blessed is because his sons showed hospitality like he did to all the people of the land, and the land blessed him, Isaac, and Ishmael. That's why there was no beef. Where they lived, it was in between long journeys, and they made sure people lived within them journeys by being hospitable to them. So when stuff happened, this is why everybody came and was sorry to see Abraham go. This is why his sons had honor, because the same hospitality for strangers that Abraham taught his he taught his sons. Right now, let's look at this true brother relationship. Now, there was a true brother to brother relationship. This is how we know. About the 27th chapter, the 18th verse. And Ishmael, the son of Abraham, died in those days, in the 64th year of Jacob, of the life of Jacob. And all the days that Ishmael lived was 137 years, and he died. And when Isaac heard that Ishmael was dead, he mourned for him, and Isaac lamented over him many days. Lamented, meaning cried, sad, hung over, down, trodden with grief. You don't grieve over somebody you hate. Somebody you hate, you just glad they're gone. So why were we taught this lie that Ishmael and Isaac was enemies? We were given Islam and Christianity. Both are not true in a true form. And yet, in both of them is contained the way we live as far as the commandments back in the day. I believe like they separated the love that these two brothers had for each other. They wanted to separate the love that black people had for each other by creating two religions diametrically opposed, but none of them true to who we really are as black men. Something to think about. So here are my final thoughts. Take notice that black women are the ones that carried on this tradition of teaching us lies as children in order to brainwash us to serve the white man and to worship them, right? Notice also that we're not supposed to tolerate dishonor from any black woman. We put her away or we get away from her. All right. And I put that in red. All right. Also notice we do not tarry around any black woman that cannot bless a good man. Right. And I want y'all to also notice how many of these black women don't know how to honor and bless a good man, but they are really down with getting high with thugs and having children from them. Well, there's no price to pay. They can hit everybody up for child support. That's their mentality because there is no honor with black women. Brother, we need to leave the black women alone. And when we find sisters, we need to separate them from that terror, or in this case, terror or terrorist or terrorist factory from their baby kids. All right. And you sisters, you got to make yourself known. And you got to be able to stand with us and not in front of us because we ain't letting that happen. That bull is gone. All right. So we need to see who the sisters are and who the black women are. Let the black women go to hell in a handbasket and burn and be judged with the rest of these people that are subverting the word of the Most High. And we need to cultivate the sisters and start saving whom we can. Remember, it's only going to be a third. With that said, I'm out. Just remember, we never got much love from the Bfems, especially those seeking power. Remember, a no depolicing zone. We must replace the tent pole with another. With that said, I'm out of here. Y'all know what time it is. Let them hit that wall alone.